Hello.
Hi,
Hi.
I'm here.
I've actually spoken with you before, but very briefly. It was at a round table, so I think I got like one question for
Yeah.
interviews.
Do you know what? I recognize your background.
Everybody does. That's why I keep it because everybody says that. So yeah, but it was very brief. But I liked the film. I watched it yesterday. So I
Thank
guess to
you.
start off, how did you get involved in it?
Um, I got involved because I one of my frequent collaborators is the film's DOP, Ryan Edelston, and I think he either invited me or said that I had to see this film, Prevenge, which I knew I would love, and I've been a fan of Alice's since I was a teenager. Like Garth Marenghi's Dark Place is one of my favorite TV shows ever made, and also um just like she'd made all these shorts. Like she made a few Super 8 shorts, which were just like really like bizarre. It's really bizarre. I think there was one where she played David Bowie. Um,
Oh, geez.
and she's so she I was already a fan of her, and he was like, I made a film with Alice Lowe. I think we might have talked about her even uh when we were working together. And so I watched Prevenge and just like I just thought it was like the premise is amazing. The circumstances of its creation were also amazing. That she made that film when she was 7 months pregnant, cast her own daughter in it as a baby. Um, and but it's also just like I loved that it was kind of an area that I think a lot of people are quite scared to go to. You know, like there's something I think Alice has spoken about this before. I don't want to I'll paraphrase her, but like something about like pregnant women being seen as kind of like vulnerable whilst they're also but like in reality it's the most powerful thing that you could ever do. It's like there's so much strength in in being pregnant and carrying a human in your body. Um, but it does all these things to your brain as well, to your mind while you're doing it. It takes something takes over. And yeah, so I like fell in love with Prevenge, already a fan of Alice's. And I sent an email to Ryan and was just like, just to tell him how much I loved it and I loved his work. He was like, "Oh, you guys should like I'll introduce you." I was like, okay." Uh, and then he sent me an email with her CC'd in and was like, "Alice, Jacob, Jacob, Alice." And because he said that she was a big Game of Thrones fan. This was maybe in like 2016 or something. And yeah, so we were in touch then, and she said, "I would like to send you something. I want to send you a script. Just let me know what you think." And she sent me Timestalker, and I like again like immediately in love with the script. I just thought it was like truly bonkers, like just like I
But in a good way. But it's unique.
100% in a good way. But like that's I read so many scripts that are like very formulaic. Like they follow these really like rote archetypes. The characters don't really go anywhere or do anything. I mean, I guess you could argue that Agnes doesn't really go anywhere in some ways. She's just
That's true.
reliving the same thing.
Same
But
thing.
like it just I hadn't read anything like it. It's so ambitious. I think that like in the UK sometimes, partly because of money, really, like we find it quite hard to be ambitious in our storytelling when it comes to films. And so I read it and I was like, this is amazing. Secretly in my head, I was like, I don't know how you're going to get this made. 'Cause- and and yeah, it criminally it took I guess like for Alice obviously a lot longer, but from when she asked me to be a part of it to when it got made, it was like 4 or 5 years. Um, or maybe 3 or 4 years. Uh, so yeah, that was a very long-winded way
That's
of saying
okay.
how it got evolved, but I just like it was just unlike anything I'd read, and I
Yeah.
just thought it was really special. And I was like, I don't know if this is going to get made or if anyone's going to see it when it does get made. But I know that this is one of those films that somebody's going to find it one day and it's going to be their little treasure. And they're going to be like, oh my God, this film was made for me. Like it has that about it. So
Yeah,
yeah, I couldn't not be a part of it.
it's definitely different. What was it like working with her? Was it what you expected, or just what
I
was
mean,
it? Because obviously she wrote and directed it and was starred in it. So
yeah, and like Alice and I, we talked quite a bit over email over a matter of, years. So I kind of got to know her a little bit in that way. So in terms of like what to expect from her, like I already knew she was great. But I think, yeah, to see somebody taking on so many hats and
yeah.
then doing that day to day, and I think she sprained her ankle like on the third day and just like worked through it. But then I guess if you make a film when you're 7 months pregnant, then
You probably could do
like,
anything, right?
yeah, and she's just unflappable and so like insanely talented. She just has like this really good eye and ear for comedy, but also just like this encyclopedic knowledge of cinema. And I think like I'm not trying to credit myself here at all, but like I talked to Alice one night about Sweet Charity, which is like one of my favorite films. And she was like, "Oh, Sweet Charity, yeah, yeah, I need to watch that again." And she came back and she was like, "There's a shot from Sweet Charity that I want to like reference," and she put it in the film, and it's just like she's so in love with storytelling and with films, and that is like she's my kind of person. So to work in that environment every day is like my happy place.
So to say that, was everything like in the script, or was there more sort of a collaboration as you created? Because obviously there's all different versions of this character. Was all that in the script, or was anything like, I guess, added? Did you add anything, or I don't know how how much you could change because I didn't see
Yeah,
this original script, but
I mean, like, I am not a I'm not a comedian. There are comedians in the film who are like, I mean, like Nick Frost and Alice herself, like they have such an adept way of improvising and just like throwing ideas in the day. And I don't think I don't, I don't know if I have the courage to like go up next to them and like introduce new things. But like, no, it didn't feel that necessary. I think it was just like maybe there were one or two times that I like pushed things a little bit further than like was scripted. Like Scipio was playing the piano and I just like went for it.
I was gonna say,
Um,
is that really you playing the piano? Do you know how to play the piano?
no,
Okay, so you were
uh,
just okay, got it.
it was
Well,
yeah.
let me ask you this. So, did you do anything, I guess, purposely different other than obviously you have different costumes to separate the different versions of him that you were consciously doing, or just
No, I mean
lines?
that's something that I do a lot in Interview with the Vampire. But I talked to Alice a little bit about it, and I think part of the point of Scipio is that he's not like he's trapped in the time that he's in, but he's the same entity. Like he's the same. He's aware of the narrative of the film. He's aware of what's happening. So he doesn't really change. He just like his surroundings change around him, and he gets like increasingly frustrated by the position he's in each of these surroundings.
Sure.
It's always like a position of subservience, and yeah.
Which I was gonna say decade, but I guess century, decade
Mm.
did you like doing the most? I mean, there's some great costumes, although some of them sort of seem similar to, I'm not great with that, but seem similar time to interview. At least one of them did. So I don't know what one did you like the most, I guess, getting
Um,
to play that time.
I enjoyed all of them. I mean, the thing is that was very, very unique about this film was that like the wigs and the costumes that we got to wear were
It's quite a
so,
lot of wigs.
yeah, lots of wig. And I loved wearing the wigs, especially the first one in the Scottish one. Like that wig was intense. I loved it. I was obsessed with that wig. And also like some of the ones in terms of like costuming and how I felt, like costuming and makeup and how I felt were like things that you just see flashes of, like the Victorian look. I had this kind of parted afro and a massive mustache, like and kind of chops. That that was fun. But um I enjoyed 80s Scipio. There's just something I
That
love
kind of
about that.
reminded me of Michael Jackson a little bit, to be honest. That was
I
what I
mean,
was
I was
thought.
thinking more Prince,
Oh,
but
maybe. Yeah, probably Prince
yeah.
too. That's good. But yeah, all from that time. Um, so what's it like, I guess, doing, you've been in things from obviously Game of Thrones, which is huge budget, to something like this, to Doctor Who, everything. How is it a lot different, I guess, from a perspective of creating it? I'm not sure the way to ask that, but like just with the different budget, how do you perceive it?
I think I'm learning increasingly as I get older, like, and as I work on things of different like budget, and that like the budget is obviously important and it informs how the producers feel, I guess, and like how the
Yeah.
producers then treat everybody else. But like, I think the size of a thing doesn't, like the size of a project actually doesn't necessarily inform how it feels. Like Game of Thrones felt tiny.
Oh, really?
Like
Interesting.
it felt really intimate, especially because we were in these like little story pockets. But you really get to know everybody, and it is like a community and a family, and everybody was seeing each other at the same time every year.
Mhm.
That like it shrinks the kind of scale of the whole thing. Um, and then you can work on something. I'm trying to think of something like, again, Timestalker felt like it felt like everybody getting together and like working together to make a thing together.
Mhm.
And I don't, it didn't have a lot of money, but again, like great producers. We had really great producers, and we had Alice like pulling everybody together. Everybody loved Alice. Um, yeah, again, Doctor Who, like it, it is famously that show is like,
It's low
let's get
budget, even
together.
though it's not, even though it's big, it's low budget. That's the
Exactly,
opposite.
exactly, and that's part of like the fun of it. Like I remember just being so excited to get onto my spaceship for the first time, and it was like made up of like old consoles, like old games
Oh, wow.
consoles. And I was like, "There's a Spectrum, is like the control thing, like a ZX Spectrum or like an Atari, and then there's like these buttons, it's like from an old keyboard, or there's a PlayStation controller, like that is that's I love that kind of um thriftiness,
Yeah, well,
particularly
sometimes
like
it can
when,
make, I think, can make people more creative when you don't have
yeah.
much.
And also like I think that there are exceptions, but I think when we talk specifically about science, like sci-fi, science fiction, they're like, I prefer it when something feels lived in, like when it feels like there's like a story behind the objects, and the like when the walls are a bit like, if you have like metal walls and stuff, that it's all a bit rusty and it's
Yeah,
a
and
bit
they like
old.
rip them apart and paint them and everything else. Yeah.
Yeah, you're like dark, like like the film Dark Star and Alien, even like they have like the ships are oily and dirty and old and lived in, and I think that there's something like a little bit more tangible about that.
Mhm.
And Doctor Who was, as a kid, it was scarier for the fact that it like felt real. Like you you could recognize what things were made of, and that meant that like it was closer to you than you thought it was.
That makes sense. Makes sense. And I gotta ask you, because I am a big Whovian, what's kind of like your favorite memory from working on that? The kind of the thing
Um,
that sticks out that you remember.
I mean, like generally speaking, it was just really lovely to be with Jodie again, and like also just like and and to be that it's just a really lovely cast.
Yeah.
It's like a really they were just really lovely people, and yeah, Mandip and John as well. But like, uh, I'll be honest. my favorite thing was just like I was sitting on my ship. I almost didn't want to
That's
say that
okay. That would
because
suit.
it's
I
like
would
because
enjoy
I'm on
that
my
too.
own. Like I
Yeah,
feel like
that's
it
true.
feels
You did have a lot
bad
of
to
scenes by
say that,
yourself.
but
No,
like
you did.
yeah, and also like being like touching the TARDIS was like a huge
Yeah.
emotional thing for me. Like I grew up with that piece of iconography and it's in front of me. And I can touch it and I can walk through it and like yeah, it was kind of magical. It was something like it was like being at Disneyland.
Yeah, I'm sure that that would be cool. I hope someday to even go to the UK, but I don't think they're going to have the museum by the time I get there for Doctor Who, so I don't know. But that would be fun. That would be a lot of fun. Oh, I know what I was going to say. Are you then like a sci-fi fantasy person, or did you just kind of fall into it? Because you've been in obviously a lot of sci-fi fantasy.
No, I am. I'm like I've as a kid I was really into primarily I was like really into comics. I was really into Star Wars. I was really into Doctor Who. Um so yeah, I feel like I can often make sense better of like our world, our very real world by like, through the lens of genre. Um so yeah, I've always been a fan of like science fiction, speculative fiction, like comic books, superhero things,
I'm sure it's going to be
space
fun to work
operas.
into. Yeah, true. Um, have you started? I assume that you've either filmed or definitely started filming season three of Interview, haven't you? I don't know, maybe so. No, you haven't. See, that's how much
Mhm.
I know. I wasn't sure because it said it was coming out the beginning of this year, but I know they keep changing everything and with the
Yeah,
strike and everything, it's hard to
yeah,
tell what's going on. Do
been a
they,
long time since
do
season
you
two.
kind of have an idea where it's, I know you can't necessarily tell me, but like, do they know, do you have an idea where it's going this season, what your character's going to be? Because I know it's mostly focusing on Lestat, I guess, from what I haven't read the book, so I don't know, but from his point of view.
I no no I don't know anything. I don't. Yeah, I have no updates to
Well, at least
to
you know you're
offer.
getting a season three, so you know you have the job. I guess that's something.
I mean,
I guess you never know, though.
we'll
They could change.
see. Yeah,
Let me ask you this. Was it playing a character like Louis that not only is the character, known from the books and everything, but there's been a film and everything else. Was that daunting to do something like that? Something that people knew? Like, did you worry at all about how it would be perceived, your
yeah,
work?
I think I did initially, and I think it had less to do with the film and more to do with like Anne Rice. You know,
That's fair.
like she is this like and I was not like I didn't really know who Anne Rice was before I auditioned for like I read Rollins' script before I read the book. So like I'd seen the film, didn't have a massive impact on me. I'd watched Queen of the Damned because Aaliyah was in it. Um and so yeah, it was like it wasn't until I started to look into like what the Vampire Chronicles meant to people. That was when I was like, oh, like this is something that I have to be really, I don't know, it has to be held in the esteem that people hold it in. But yeah, I guess actually also like the film is very iconic and Brad Pitt, you know, is like is a famous person. I mean, Brad Pitt and
Yeah,
Tom Cruise,
that's a good description of Brad
two
Pitt.
very
No,
famous
I know
men.
what you mean. Yeah.
Um, so like I guess there's that. But then you do realize like not everybody likes the same things. Not everybody like loves the same
Yeah, you
actors
got
or
to
the
make it
same
your own.
interpretation. Yeah, and this was already like very much its own thing. And I really loved Louis. I mean, I didn't love all of Louis in the book, and then in like read Vampire Lestat as well before we started filming, and that was like a whole other thing again. Like I loved the books, so it meant that I sort of by the time we were filming, I had those feelings of like, I want to do this right. And when like when you're working with somebody who is like, like really, really knows their shit about, their Anne Rice then you have to like you sort of fall into that, and you want to just do the story justice anyway. You know, I don't really go into things half-assed or like for a paycheck. It's just not really my thing. Like I feel so lucky to do this as a job, and this is like time. It speaks to Timestalker as well, and also like why I wanted to be a part of it for 4 years. Is
Yeah.
like I think if I really love a story and I really love a character and I really love the people that are making the thing, I think I might as well be just doing a being a line of work that that I hate and don't care about, and it's just work. If I'm not gonna like do things for the right reasons, like I
Yeah.
just
I think
so
you can
yeah, there was
tell
like a
too,
lot of,
the
and
ones
actually
that are
I
just
completely lost
calling it
track
in.
of
No, yeah,
I
you
lost
were
track of
saying,
your
I
original
remember you were saying
question.
that you put all your effort into it. And I was
Yeah,
say, yeah, I think that you can tell when people do that though, compared to when they don't. And it's when
yeah, I think
you
so.
enjoy
That's
it.
the thing. Like I love this. Like I love watching. I love being told stories. So and
Mhm.
I can tell when like someone's heart isn't in it. So
Yeah, yeah.
I don't want to be one of those people.
Was there anything though that was difficult? I mean, it sounds like it was a lot of fun working on this project, but was there
Mm.
anything that was difficult at all?
Um, like just being in the countryside in Wales in the winter, it can be hard sometimes. It
I was
was
gonna say
cold
pretty cold.
sometimes. Yeah, but like again, even that, you just got to dance through it.
Mhm.
It's more, you just dance through the cold,
Yeah,
like
well, as long as you're
after it.
enjoying it, that's a good thing. Um,
Yeah.
do you have like a I don't know, a dream role or something, a type of role or something that you'd really still love to do? I mean, you said you were a fan of Doctor Who, so I don't know, maybe that was it, but is there anything you're just still thinking about? Like if it were up to you, you could be anything that you had a
Oh, it's a really good question. I used to think I had things. This is going to be a boring answer. I'm sorry.
thought.
Like, I used to have things that I was like, I want to do that. Like, I want to be in this super team, or I want to do this thing or that thing. But like, I think now I just want to be in things that like I get
Yeah.
joy out of. And I don't know what they're going to be. Yeah, like I did a film last year that like just came out of like felt like it just came out of nowhere, and it's like one of my favorite things I've ever read, and that like I never would have planned that for myself,
Mhm.
you know.
Mhm.
um so I like the surprises. I'm excited for more surprises.
Is there someone in particular that you would like to work with? Either even an actor, director, whichever, other than Alice.
Oh, I mean, I love been watching loads of old films recently. Most of the people that made those films are not
Or around.
here anymore. I was gonna say like Agnes Varda, but that's not gonna happen. Um, oh, this is sorry. I mean, like, I think there's like a lot of really interesting genre directors around at the moment that are like doing some really brilliant satire through horror, and I'd love to work with Jordan Peele, um, Barry Jenkins. Oh, who directed The Substance? Coralie Faja. I think that's how you say her
Okay, I was
name.
gonna say if not, I could look it up because I didn't know off the top of my head. But yeah,
Like, I would, I'd do it for free.
that's cool. I actually haven't seen that because I'm a wuss and it looked
You
scary.
know, but you know, it's like I'd say it's one of the more accessible body horror films. Like once you get past the kind of like visceral stuff,
Yeah, I
like
know
it's
it. I know a lot
actually
of people like it. I'm the kind
yeah.
of person that looks up the parent's guide when it's really scary horror to see what's in it first.
I do that
That
too
person.
sometimes.
I'm
Yeah.
always that person. I'm a wuss when it comes to horror. Let's see. Anything else before we run out that cuts us off? Is there anything else you want to promote that you have coming up?
No, I don't think so. Go go and find Timestalker. It's like it's a weird film and um in it and it deserves your love and time.
Yeah, it's a
So
fun
does Alice
film.
Lowe.
It's
Yeah.
definitely a fun film. Is there anything else? I know it's going to run out and cut off. Is there anything else you want to put in the interview? You want to add? You want people to know? And nothing you can think of.
Um
It's okay if you can. I just before we run out, I figure I might as well ask. What's something people would be surprised to know about you? That's something I haven't asked for people for a while. I used to always ask that.
oh, I feel like because of the internet, there's probably
That's
nothing
true. People
surprising
know
at all
everything
about
now.
me.
That's true. That's true.
And I'm like definitely an oversharer. So I'm not like uh I'm like a big reality TV fan. Like, but only in the like since 2020, like since lockdown.
I was going to say,
I used
we've
to
started watching
actively
much more TV.
yeah, but I used to actively hate reality TV. I was like, it's rotting us and like it's rotting the way that we like relate to each other. And then I watched that show Unreal and I was like, oh, this is wild. Actually, reality TV is just one big like it's basically narrative. And I started to
Started
get
to
into it quite a
binge
lot.
that
It's like
stuff.
a guilty pleasure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on. I was going to say, what's something you're into right now? It doesn't have to be reality TV. Just I don't know how much. I know a lot of times in your profession you may not have a lot of time to watch television or movies, but is there something you're kind of into right now?
I no, I make time to watch like to watch things. I'm gonna have a look at my watch list of what I've just watched. I write everything down that I've watched. Um, I've just started watching Common Side Effects, which I'm enjoying. Uh, I would love Scavenger's Reign. I think it's Joe Bennett wrote and created both of those shows. Been watching this show called Culinary Class Wars on Netflix. It's like a Korean cooking show that's just like the
Okay.
scale of it is ridiculous. Um, I love that. I watched the first three series of Industry. I'm late, but like, wow, that show just took over my life for like 2 weeks. I had to like watch one a day and pass it out. And I obviously failed because I watched three seasons in 2 weeks.
I was gonna say I'm like that. I'm a binger. I'm bad. I keep
Yeah,
watching
I
things.
love
All
yeah,
right.
I love it.
Well, thank you for talking to me. I appreciate it. It was a fun interview. And yeah, I'm looking forward to interview. We discuss it on our video podcast every week when it's on me and my two friends. So we definitely enjoy the show. So looking forward to that. And I hope at some point we see more Vinder on Doctor Who. I don't know, maybe.
I'd go back in a
Nice.
heartbeat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But all right.
Thank
Well,
you,
have a good,
Jamie.
sure. Yeah, have a
It was
good
nice
rest
to
of your
speak to
day,
you
and
again.
maybe I'll talk to you for the next thing, hopefully.
Yeah, yeah.
All
Take
right.
care. Thank
Bye
you.
bye. Have a good day.
Bye.
Bye bye.